Donald Robinson appeared to be quite well-to-do. He lived in a very nice neighborhood. He had 2 Porsches, drove fast cars, and liked pretty women.
But Donald Robinson's passion for expensive cars and beautiful women comes to an end on Halloween night.
In this case, the officers and the investigators looked at the crime scene and discussed a lot of theories of what might have happened. But as a profiler, this crime scene tells me a story.
And the most unlikely of suspects emerges. Halloween night in an affluent neighborhood in Port Orange, Florida. Children are trick-or-treating, filling their bags with candy. But at 832 Wildwood Circle, nobody opens the door. A concerned neighbor calls 911. When police enter the house, they find the body of Donald Lewis Robinson. He has been stabbed and shot numerous times. Detective Samakowitz from the Port Orange Police Department is assigned to work the homicide investigation. He is one of the first officers to arrive at the scene.
This is 832 Wildwood Circle, which is the residence belonging to Donald Robinson, and this is where he was found murdered. This is the front door here that was found unlocked.
Police immediately begin to search for evidence at the crime scene. To their disappointment, there's very little. No fingerprints, no shoe prints. For now, the crime scene technicians can only collect blood samples in search of foreign DNA.
A neighborhood canvass was conducted, and the neighbor across the street from Donald Robinson had advised us that he had observed Donald Robinson driving into his driveway earlier in the evening, and Mr. Robinson actually waved to him. He then drove directly into his garage, and the door closed behind him. That was the last neighbor that we know of for sure that had actually seen Donald Robinson alive.
Police discover that Robinson's jewelry is gone. Most notably, a gold necklace with a Porsche emblem that he always wore. Could this be a break-in robbery gone wrong? And if not, what could be the motive for murder? For Detective Samakowitz, it is now crucial to find out as much information as possible about the victim.
The information we have at this point on Donald Robinson is that he is pretty much well thought of the neighborhood. He comes and goes and does not give anybody any problems. He's very friendly with everyone, and he pretty much keeps to himself.
41-year-old Donald Robinson co-owned Rensport, an auto detailing shop for luxury cars in Daytona Beach, and he owned 2 Porsches. The Port Orange community also knew him as a player, a womanizer who liked spending his money generously. But who would want this man dead? The next morning, the autopsy report comes back. When Detective Samakowitz reviews the file, something catches his attention. In addition to being shot and stabbed numerous times, the victim had been shot once in the knee.
There was a good possibility that the gunshot wound to the knee area was a trademark for drug shootings. And those had become quite commonplace down in the South Florida area, and that's where they were getting information from that maybe this could also be of the same origin.
Could this murder be a drug hit? When Detective Samakowitz digs deeper into the life of the victim, he soon finds what might be the key to solving the murder.
We ran a criminal history on him, which revealed that he had several narcotics arrests previously. We learned that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement had already been investigating him for his narcotics activity.
Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Ken Tucker.
FDLE agent Ken Tucker is the lead detective in the Robinson investigation. He is able to determine that Robinson was part of a major drug ring operating throughout Florida. And Ken Tucker has a valuable piece of information that could make all the difference in the case: Robinson's phone records.
As part of our investigation into this drug organization, we had established a PIN register on Donald Robinson's home phone. It captures those phone numbers that you're calling, tells us what time you called them, how long you talked to them, and then the phone numbers associated with that call.
Ken Tucker provides investigators with a list of all incoming and outgoing calls to Robinson's residence. Everyone on that list could have something to do with the murder. With hundreds of potential suspects, investigators need to narrow their list, so they call on criminal profiler Dale Hinman for her expertise. But the first time she sees the evidence, Hinman is convinced that investigators are on the wrong track.
Based on my experience in the investigation of narcotics executions, this crime didn't fit what I would have expected. Based on Donald Robinson's background, it's not likely that he would let a stranger into his home and then entertain him there in the house, so it's likely that he knew his killer.
Coming up next on Body of Evidence, is Agent Hinman's profile correct? Did the victim know his killer? The preliminary evidence in the Halloween murder investigation points to a contract killing. But profiler Dale Hinman is convinced that Robinson knew his killer. Lead detective Frank Samakowitz and Agent Dale Hinman meet at the crime scene to discuss the details of the case. Hinman wants to test her theory that Robinson opened the door for someone he knew, and perhaps knew well.
This is the front door to the Donald Robinson residence, right here. It was found unlocked on the night of the murder, and there was no signs of any forced entry from the windows or the garage area.
Well, it would seem like to me that if he has some involvement in narcotics, that he would keep this house really secure and not let strangers into the house.
And there is another detail that makes Hinman believe this was a personal crime.
When we found him, he was located in the front bedroom area.
What was the victim wearing at the time of the attack?
He was found naked.
The fact that he's naked and in the bedroom makes me feel more like that the offender in this case may not be associated with drugs, but may be someone who he's had a relationship with in the past, because he feels comfortable being with this person in his home while he's nude.
And there is still another unusual element to the crime.
He was covered by a comforter when the first responders had arrived at the scene.
I think the covering of the victim's body is really significant in this investigation, because if this was a narcotics execution, the person should want the body displayed so that they can send a message or make a point. But by covering the body, this sounds more like somebody who knew him and really doesn't want to look at the body lying there.
For Hinman, all the evidence at the crime scene seems to support her theory. Robinson probably had a personal relationship with his killer and opened the door willingly. And the investigation takes another turn when detectives make a fascinating discovery. The police report states that the victim was shot with a very unusual kind of ammunition: wad cutter bullets. The shooter's choice of bullet is a critical detail for Agent Hinman. So she meets with ballistic expert Murray McDonald to learn more.
Dale, these are the two rounds that we're going to shoot today, the .38 wad cutter and the .357 Magnum.
The difference between the two types of bullets: wad cutters are mainly used for target practice, while the .357 Magnums have twice the power and twice the velocity of the wad cutters.
Comparing the wad cutter to the 357 Magnum is about like a Volkswagen to a Ferrari. So we can shoot these today and kind of compare what they do and what they're going to do to a body as they traverse through them.
Detective McDonald and Agent Hinman now test the two different bullets. McDonald has the Magnum caliber bullets. Dale Hinman, the wad cutters.
Dale, I set up a couple of targets down at the end. They're layered cardboard, and you're going to see a real noticeable difference when we fire those rounds. The 357 and the wad cutters are going to make a real noticeable difference in that target medium.
Well, let's give it a try.
Okay.
Line is hot.
The cardboard boxes show how deep the bullets have traveled.
Let's see what we got here. The 357 went all the way through the compressed cardboard. How'd that do?
Now, the difference between this one, you have the regular 38 style entrance here, but I see no exit whatsoever. And back to, let's see, at this point, you still have the bullet traveling, but when you get back to here, there's absolutely no indication that we've shot through this box whatsoever. So there's so much less power to this bullet than to your bullet.
Magnum's much more power.
Well, and when you look at the crime scene now, the person who would bring these types of bullets to shoot a large man, this doesn't sound like a very experienced shooter to me.
No, absolutely not. I agree 100%.
Agent Hinman is now able to fit the last piece into the puzzle, and her conclusion is stunning.
Based on the condition of the victim at the scene and the type of bullets that were used, and that the bullets were very inefficient, the wad cutters, I'm really convinced that a woman was the shooter in this crime, and we need to look at women who were in this victim's life.
Coming up next on Body of Evidence, could a woman be the Halloween killer? Profiler Dale Hinman now believes that a woman is responsible for the Halloween killing of Donald Robinson.
Some of the reasons why I felt a woman was involved in this homicide was because Mr. Robinson was found naked in his bedroom. His body was covered up with a comforter, and the bullets that were used were not the type of bullets that I would expect to be used by a professional.
Agent Hinman advises the task force to take a closer look at the women in Robinson's life. But before Detective Samakowitz gets a chance to do so, there is an unexpected break in the case. A police informant provides investigators with a tip. The gold necklace that was stolen from the crime scene has turned up in the Volusia Gold and Diamond Pawn Shop in Daytona Beach. If investigators can track down the person that sold the necklace to the pawn shop, it may lead them straight to the murderer. And with the help of the pawn shop records, Detective Samakowitz gets lucky.
We were able to receive information that the owner of the Orange Avenue Food Center right there was in possession of the super chain belonging to Donald Robinson. He confirmed that at one time he was in possession of it and that he had received it from an unknown black male.
And again, investigators are in luck. The store owner has taken down the license plate number on the seller's car.
Based on the information that was provided to us by the owner of the Orange Avenue Food Market, he gave us the tag number, and that was checked through our communications division. And the vehicle tag came back to a Ronald Smith.
Smith has a lengthy criminal history, but the question is, did he kill Donald Robinson? Could Hinman's profile of a female killer be wrong?
Even though there were things in Ronald Smith's background that might point to him as a suspect, I didn't think he was involved in this crime because I found it very unlikely that Donald Robinson would entertain another man in his home and in his bedroom while Mr. Robinson was naked.
Detective Samakowitz decides to pay Ronald Smith a visit. When Smith opens the door, Simakowicz tells him he wants to talk about a gold chain and the murder of Donald Robinson.
He went back inside to his home and said he needed to speak to his mother. We waited outside. He didn't come back out until 10 or 15 minutes later. It was at that time he said, "I need to speak to you. I know who killed Donald Robinson."
Smith claims that two women from his neighborhood, Leslie Hogan and her friend Donna Dushin, had approached him to help sell some jewelry they had stolen from Robinson's house after they had killed him.
When Leslie Hogan and Donna Dushin surfaced as suspects in this investigation, we really felt like the case was headed in the right direction because we felt the focus of the case should be that the perpetrator would be a female, that the person would be inexperienced as a killer, and that the person would have had some type of intimate relationship with Mr. Robinson.
Leslie Hogan and Donna Dushin match all of Hinman's profile points, but there is no evidence connecting them to the crime, only the allegations of Ronald Smith.
At this point, it became very important to determine whether or not Ronald Smith was telling the truth. So the best way to resolve this issue was for him to wear a body wire to confront the women and have them discuss what really happened.
Ronald Smith agrees to wear a body wire and meet with the two women in hopes of getting a confession on tape. Detective Simakowicz has Smith call Donna Dushin, and she agrees to meet him in front of her parents' house. Unfortunately, Leslie Hogan won't be there.
We used 3 of our police vehicles to respond to the area of where Donna Dushin resided. We wanted 2 of the vehicles to be in the area as surveillance vehicles to make sure that nothing happened at the residence or that no one else walked into the residence area, while the 3rd vehicle was used as the tape recording vehicle.
Coming up next, investigators hear the voice of the Halloween killer for the very first time.
I was supposed to wait a couple of minutes and then go to the house.
Ronald Smith claims that 2 women he knows vaguely from the neighborhood are responsible for the Halloween murder of Donald Robinson. He has agreed to confront one of them, Donna Dushin, wearing a wire. Detective Simakowicz monitors the conversation between the two from his car. Smith suggests that Donna's friend Leslie might turn on her if the going gets rough.
I believe Leslie gonna turn over on. I want you to tell me really honestly what happened about that whole situation.
I told you. By the time I got there, and Leslie hadn't already stopped the car. He was pulling.
And finally, Detective Simakowicz learns how Donald Robinson was killed that Halloween night.
Donna Dushin's friend says that she's already shot him 3 times, it's your turn, and gives the gun to Donna Dushin. Donna then stated that she tried to shoot him, but the gun wouldn't go off. That's when Donna Dushin said that she doesn't know what happened, but she just wigged out. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and that she just started stabbing him, just to shut him up.
After we found out what really happened that night, it confirmed our original theory that the shooter was inexperienced, the bullets were ineffective, and the shots were not fatal.
Police arrest Donna Dushin. In this taped interview, she confesses to the crime.
Whose idea was this, to do this in the first place?
I guess we both thought of it. It first started out, Leslie and I were planning to do this, and we were both scared. I don't know what we were thinking at the time.
Leslie Hogan and Donald Robinson had an intimate relationship. When that was over, she came up with the plan to kill him. Was it because of a broken heart or out of greed? The task force is about to find out.
What was your motive, yours and Leslie's, for going over to Donald's house and committing this act? Was it for money?
I guess.
After Dushin's confession, Leslie Hogan is also taken into custody. Both are charged with first-degree, premeditated murder. The jury finds Donna Dushin guilty, and she is sentenced to 50 years in prison. But the judge rules that Leslie Hogan's confession is inadmissible due to a technicality. With no other compelling evidence against her, Leslie Hogan is not convicted.
Most people can't imagine women as killers, but when they do kill, they can imagine them only in terms of poisoning someone or giving them an overdose. They don't see women as potentially being violent or using guns or knives. It's so important for investigators to all work together as a team and let the crime scene tell the story.